Hello. Okay, this is for Carol, who had the question about been a stay-at-home mom for a child with significant disabilities herself, and the mom's wanting to know if she could, the way it was worded was receive SSI or SSD for all of those years. I'm not sure if that meant she has become disabled and now couldn't work anyway. It's not very clear, but here's the deal. If you have not worked, other self-employed or W-2, earning an income upon which you pay Social Security taxes, you aren't going to have Social Security retirement or be eligible to file for Social Security disability, because those are insurances that you buy and you pay the premiums through your taxation, whether it's withholding by your employer or and half of it being paid by your employer actually, or self-employed, you file your tax returns and you do the math and you pay the taxes that are owed, the variety of taxes, right? So if you and I did a video a while back on the dangers of this occurring to stay-at-home parents from the get-go, who and stay-at-home parents are a blessing, really. But it would really behoove people to do it with care. And you can be a stay-at-home parent and still work enough to get your credits. You might not have a huge Social Security amount for earning not too much, but you'll get something. And that something can increase when your kids maybe are, if they're not disabled and needing your care, after, they're in school, kindergarten, first grade, and they're away, 7 hours a day. You could go get a job, even if it's within those hours that they're in school, and you will not only earn money. Yes, you might be exhausted cleaning the house too, if that's what you're doing. I was a worker, but I kind of let the house slip a little bit. But you can earn the money, keep the credits, and then if you do become disabled, now the kids are in school, whatever, and you become disabled, if you hadn't worked for the last 5 years or 5 years within the last 10, even if it's quite part-time, and I have videos on this, on the amounts, the cost of an earnings credit, and you can only get credit for 4 of them in a year. So 4 times the cost of the credit gets you the 4 credits for that year, and you need to generally, unless you're young, eventually have 20 credits earned in the last 10 years. Now you can feasibly earn 40 in the last 10 years, but you don't have to work and earn all 4 each year. In 2024, all 4 would mean someone earned under $7,000 for the whole year. That's to get all 4. You do that for 5 years, you're definitely insured. And it's just a good safety cushion to have. I mean, on top of the fact that you can bring in a little extra income, get out of the house, even if, it's like, let's say it's $600 a month, you earn $150 a week, and you will be insured. If you do that sufficiently to get, for enough time period, enough calendar years, no more than 5, and sometimes a lot less, to become insured for Social Security disability, and you kind of maintain that, or at least the 2, so 3,000 a year, or 3,500 a year, going forward after that, and that number will adjust up as cost of living changes the cost of an earnings credit, but you will forever be insured, like having an insurance policy in case you become disabled. And should that befall you later, you can file and collect whatever benefit amounts those work efforts you did would have gotten you. It does depend on, the more you pay in, the more you're going to get out. It's like any other insurance policy, more coverage, bigger benefit if you paid in more. But still, to get something is better than nothing. And probably, possibly even more importantly, you'd get Medicare. And that can be a big deal. So in terms of staying home to take care of her daughter who is severely handicapped, that's going to be a real detriment to you and your own benefit later. Another potential problem some people would see is that if they don't have their own Social Security retirement vested interest of sorts, when they stopped working, so they hadn't worked enough to gain that, then their disabled child who could have gotten a DAC benefit and not been on SSI, him or herself, if they were, or if they were to be once they become 18 and mom and dad's money doesn't count, that child would never be able to collect a DAC Social Security benefit off of mom's record because mom didn't have one. So there's a lot of reasons why getting out there, not full-time, not making your kids latchkey kids, nothing like that, even working from home. There's a lot of remote opportunities, but very, very part-time. Seriously, making like $150 a week as of 2024 will be more than enough. And whatever that equivalent amount will be in the years forward. So not doing so not only screws you in retirement, it'll screw you, pardon my French, if you become disabled. And if you have a handicapped child, that child will not be able to get DAC under your record. Now, if they have a different parent, a disabled child, may be eligible for DAC under that other parent. If that parent at some point files for retirement, becomes disabled and collects SSD or passes away. It's just a little extra insurance for a disabled child who becomes an adult, that they can eventually file for their DAC benefit, a DAC benefit under a parent's record if the parents were Social Security insured, right? So unfortunately, the SSD would be out of the picture. Now, for SSI for mom, if mom becomes disabled after staying home and not earning a Social Security disability vested interest, it's not really vested, it's always temporary term insurance with SSD, but SSI would be available because you don't have to be insured. You don't have to have worked, paid in, anything like that. But you do have to be disabled, of course, and it's the same finding as if you were filing for SSD. And you also have to be significantly poor under the rules and as they define it. So if you're, middle of the road family income or even below that, but not below enough, you're not going to be able to get SSI because you're not poor enough. It's really limited to the very, very destitute. So that is my take on that question. Being stay at home for able or disabled children can come and smack you. Now, one thing that some people can look at is kinship, and I'm just going to use this general term, like kin care programs, where your state or local government will pay a family member to be the one to stay home and care for the disabled child or adult who needs care. And they don't need skilled care like in a nursing home with skilled nurses. They just need that complete babysitting, so to speak. They need someone to cook their meals, maybe get them in and out of bed. I mean, it doesn't have to be all of these things, but it can be some of them. Get them to appointments, keep their house clean, make their appointments, really run the show. There are, and I don't know if they're growing or not. I really hope they do, because there are programs that will pay. I mean, I've had clients who became disabled, and when they were starting to become disabled, but they weren't, they were caretaking for these kids, and they probably couldn't have worked full-time in a real job. Because think about it, kinship care, you're doing things every few hours, not necessarily an 8-hour straight thing. It's more, you're there at night sleeping in case the person needs your help. You're fixing them a quick meal when you fix your own. You're keeping the place tidy. You're, making sure they get what they need. And I've seen people that, will bring in like $2,000 a month from the kinship program. And some of them, they actually would be, it would be, I don't know if it was taxed, but it was considered a wage or taxed as if for work activity. and they got Social Security coverage. They must have been taxed on it. And then I've seen other ones where the person didn't. So each location does it differently. The person that got taxed, you could say, oh, it's terrible, I gotta pay tax on this. Well, guess what? That kinship care is what finally got her insured again after years of not working. In fact, I think she had taken care of a family member where there was no kin care program. And that was many years of caretaking and becoming uninsured for SSD. And then her health started to decline significantly. And while it was really declining, she cared for the other family member because the first one had passed away. These are seniors. And then she cared for the second one. And that one provided this. And it was like 2 or 3 years was all she needed of that. And she became insured again. And we filed and we prevailed. So it was funny because the month her loved one passed away that she was caretaking for, say that was in April of that year, she made enough in those 4 months of kin care payments to get all 4 credits for that entire year in the first 4 months. And that is exactly what she needed to get her last credit for disability insured status. It was a, what would be the word? I don't know. It was beautiful though. It worked out perfectly with the credits, because she wasn't gonna be able to go out and get, a regular job. So that was, or certainly not something beyond very minimal. And I don't think she could even do that. But anyway, so we filed and, it took several months, but she was able to get Social Security disability. So those kin care programs could be great. And I think if you do get taxed on it, it could be to your benefit. So don't look at gift horse. If you're not taxed and you get to keep a little bit of the extra money, woo woo. But what's funny in this day and age, at least currently this year, we have that 12,000, and probably now it's like 13 something thousand federal deduction. The first 12,000 you make isn't even going to be taxed federally. Now, if you're in a state that likes to whack you, that's a whole nother story. But federally, you don't pay income tax on that. But you would pay the Social Security tax, which is kind of steep. But you'll get your credits, and it could be worth it very much so in the long run. So keep all that in mind. And all you stay-at-home moms of disabled kids or dads, consider looking to see if they might not do it for kids because parents are already supposed to be responsible for them. So maybe they only do it for adults because they're no longer your dependent. Could be your kid, could be your uncle, could be whatever. But if you're doing that and you're staying out of the workforce and not earning any money because you're doing this for your family member, which I think is really commendable. And I know caretaking is brutal for a family member. It really is for the caretaker. Consider looking into it. I really hope it spreads across the country, because I'm in Pennsylvania and I know in my county they do have a couple of these things because that's the county that I saw this in. But yeah, I don't know about everywhere else. I think it really varies. So anyway, something to check out. I will talk to you guys later, but get those credits. Try not to take too much time off to raise the kids. Even if you work seasonally, it can pay off. I'll talk to you later. Bye.